Good evening, everyone. I'm going to make sure this is on because I always forget one thing. Hopefully I didn't forget. Okay, cool. I'm getting the thumbs up from my tech guy. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into the Civic Awareness Series. My name is Chris. I am the Adult Programs Coordinator here at the Schaumburg Library, and I'm happy to be with all of you guys again. This is our second hybrid installment of the Civic Awareness Series. We started it this year, and I'm so happy to keep on our track of civic engagement and civic education with our patrons here in the Schaumburg Township, and as well as this amazing partnership we have with the League of Women Voters of the Palatine area. Before I turn things over to the League and to tonight's speaker, I just want to give a quick few friendly Zoom reminders and in-person reminders. For our Zoom audience, your cameras and microphones are off, but if you're having any technical difficulties, please make sure you reach out to me using the Q&A option. That way I can go back and forth with you and I won't miss any potential issues you're having. They won't go flying by in a chat. You can also use the Q&A if you are looking to ask any questions of this evening's presenter. We'll address all questions at the end of the program, but make sure you're putting those in as they come up in your headset. You don't forget anything by the time we get to the end. We have also enabled closed captions for your comfort. If you'd like, you can turn those on or off using your Zoom toolbar. For our in-person audience, questions will, like I said before, be taken at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions for the presenter, do me a big favor, throw that hand high in the air for me. We want to make sure our Zoom audience can hear the wonderful questions you guys might have, so I'm going to have to come over Vanna White style and hold my little lav mic under your mouth so that they can hear you online. So if you do have any questions, again, just make sure that hand goes high in the air and I'll come over to you with my mic. I'd also like to ask at this time that you silence your cell phones and any other electronic device that may make noise during the presentation. Sounds and lights emitted by those devices are distracting to your fellow patrons and as well as the presenter. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Terry Gazowski from the Palatine League of Women Voters.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Hello, my name is Terry Gazowski, League of Women Voters, Palatine area, which includes Barrington, Inverness, Schaumburg, as well as Palatine and Rolling Meadows. And thank you again, Chris, for partnering with the League. And a little bit about on the Civic Awareness Series. This is probably number 10 or 11. You'll hear a little bit more about the futures from our president after the session. A little bit about the League. It's a nonpartisan political organization. Anyone can join or support the League in our mission of promoting civic engagement, voter education, and advocacy on various issues. You can learn more about the League and participation through the website that will be placed in the chat, as well as where to go to vote. We are 100 years old, but welcome the energy of all ages and genders. So tonight, the title of our session is The Role of the National Convention in Shaping Voters' Behavior. And we are honored to have Reedy Sally, PhD and faculty member of the Department of Political Science at Harper College. He has taught several classes in political science, like comparative government, international relations, U.S. foreign policy, international terrorism, and U.S. government. He has received his PhD in public policies and government from Walden University. He also earned an MA in political science from the Northern Illinois University and an MA from international relations from Roosevelt University. Phew. He is a recipient 3 times of the Teaching Excellency Award from the Illinois Community College Trustee Association, and he is nationally certified by the U.S. Institute of Peace and Diplomacy for Teaching Human Rights. He's an active member of the Political Science Association, and you may find part of his publication at researchgate.net, and his new publication will be out in January of 2025, and I lost the name of the publication.
A basic paradigm.
What is it?
A basic paradigm to understand foreign governments.
Okay, and with that, I'll hand it over to you. And I wanted to get all that out because I feel like we're really honored to have someone that has been invested and been teaching for over 30 years in our community. So thank you, Reby.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this great welcoming, and I appreciate all the warm wishes for me from the minute I stepped into this great assembly. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Reby Sahi, and I'll be happy today to present to you a perspective for the national conventions in the United States And in this case, I look for the activities of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. I would like to get your attention for a couple of things. First, I am not expert with the Republican affairs or the Democratic affairs. I am only a political science professor, has great interest and great passion to educate the students to be the better leaders of tomorrow. And here, before this lectures is part of bigger project in my comparative government class when I talk about political bodies around the world. So I'm taking the United States as a case of study as well. So it's good for Americans to understand their political system and compare it with other nations elsewhere in the world, whether it's democracy or a transitional one or not even democracy at all. So a couple of things I ran into it when I was working on this presentation for two great leaders to the United States of America. The first one came up from FDR when he said during the national conventions back in 1933, I am a pledge. I pledge myself and pledge you that I'll bring a better deal or a new deal to the United States. And that's mean when there is national conventions for the party, there is a new way to shape America. And you go that with the same thoughts of this perspective for President or former President Eisenhower back in 1952 when he said, whatever Americans try to do for elsewhere in the world, it must come from the heartland. It's mean as us, as an American. And I came up to a very interesting question to ask myself, what is the purpose of the National Convention Party? Why we have all of that attentions in the media and why we have so many people been talking right and left and been attacking and been analyzing and been criticizing and been reflecting. And I said to myself, hey, it's the First Amendment. Freedom of speech, people could say whatever you want to. But I came up with better answer for this by creating the following outline. As you see here, to understand the National Convention, you need to go first to the presidential nomination. And to understand the presidential nomination, you need to go deeply inside the mechanism of the political party membership. Then, what is the purpose of the media? We have in the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, freedom of press. And media sometimes could take you down or could take you up. And we're going to see the mechanism that they use and the procedures that will shape voters' behaviors during election. Then also after that, we will explain, based on some studies came up from University of Michigan and elsewhere in the nation, why voters vote this way after they've been exposed to the media and beyond. Then briefly, I'm going to look for the national conventions that came up from 1964 till 2024, 60 years of work, but I promise I will do it in 6 minutes for you. Then I will look at election 2016 because election 2016 somehow is relevant to election 2024. We had Trump try to get into the White House in 2016, and now he's back in 2024. He was nominated again in 2020, so we're going to look at the differences from here. And finally, someone asked me all the time, who do you think is going to be the president? I said, the one who's going to get 270 plus at the Electoral College. That's who's going to be the president of the United States of America. So I created the following timeline. And to understand parties and to understand the National Convention, this is what we see once every 4 years. Like you see over here, last spring, we experienced the primary election. Trump and President Biden. Biden, unfortunately, he dropped on July 21st for health reason and God knows what else. That's what's going on over here. Then he's been replaced as a candidate, so by Kamala Harris. Now, in the summer, we have the National Convention. So we just experienced the Republican just mid of July, and we're going to experience the Democrat in Chicago and next Monday. And today the news said that says the city is ready for that convention, and that's a great event. Then the third area is here, the presidential debate that will take place, and also who will be the president-elect based on what we are projecting so far. So we go through this kind of journey. We have the media has been practicing something, I call it soft news and hard news. With the soft news, when the media is talking about the personal life for that candidate, his family, his engagement, whatever was going on over here. And hard news when analyze his agenda for the election campaign, or what we call it, platform. Now, as I said, to understand American political party, it just came up to one question to me, and all the time I keep asking my students, is America the bar of the elite or the bar of the public? And I hear so many interesting answers all the time. But to understand the answer for this question, look at the party membership. And honest to goodness, I did not learn that till 2010, after 20 years of teaching. I did not learn that. That means you have to dive more. So within the political party, according to Dr. Michael Raskin, a distinguished scholar studying political parties and election campaign and beyond, said every American party in the United States has two types of membership. One of them, we call it the political oligarchy. That means the elite inside the party. Those guys mean religiously integrated to the party, socially are dedicated to the party, financially are strong within the party, logistically and sociologically are completely into the party. As you know, I wasn't born in that time. I remember I saw that Discovery Channel when JFK father, Joe Kennedy, came up to his son and he told him, you will beat Nixon in the election because I spoke with the big guys in the Midwestern states and they will vote for you. But they need one thing in return. What is in the return? Your brother need to be the Secretary of Justice. The Secretary of Justice. So in other words, JFK was promising the head of the FBI, Edgar Hoover in that time, to be the future Secretary of Justice in that time. He said, his father told him, no. Kennedy gave his word to the big guys. And you gotta listen from there. That's what we call it, the political oligarchy. So you put this in the language of the political party. We are talking about the delegates, the super delegates within the Democratic Party. Republicans do not have super delegates. Okay, then those guys, they could eventually vote and nominate you as the future president to the nation, and you will run the general election. Now, you take the second one, the true believers. These guys just only activists at local communities or even nationwide because they are businessmen or because they have somehow interest or the new generation that who's going to lead for the party. So when little bit, we're going to take the political oligarchy, what I call it the elite, into this, and we're going to see that. Now, moving on for the National Convention. I try to break it down into an easy way for everyone so you could understand. What is the National Convention? It's a social gathering once every 4 years for the elite inside the party to discuss what's going on and to lay out the future of the nation. And that's what Trump is going to carry or has been carrying. And that's what Kamala Harris is going to carry on the 19th of this month. And they go from there. What's these things is the first thing, or the first step, is the nomination. So the delegate in the Democrat, they give the support for that candidate, and they will vote for him or for her. The super delegate, they will make the pledge, they will vote, but they could change their mind. But technically speaking, based on what I've been monitoring and observing, they are not going to change their mind over Kamala Harris. That's it. She is on the ticket. And also her future vice president. Now, the other important stuff, when we experience the primary election, people think we are experiencing the general election for the whole nation. The primary election is about to know who will be the front runner for his political party so he could be officially nominated inside the National Convention. So you go for the second step. The party before get together, all these committees that have been working for the last 4 years, they create the platform. And this platform is they discuss the surrounding issues of the nation. Could be something involved with social policy, health policy, economic policy, foreign policy, military policy, and in other words, these are the areas that the candidate will address and will present his or her thoughts and reflections to the public so he could attract more voters and vote for him or vote for her in that things. Then what's so interesting about this? It's okay, you can keep laughing, but I'm natural like this. It's what's so interesting about this part. You need to unify the party. back in 2016, everybody was saying, oh, the Republicans are divided. Actually, the Democrats were more divided than the Republicans. And I don't want to go deeply with that things because it's going to take you to stay with me till midnight. I don't think it would be a good idea. So that's what we have over here. Now, the unity of the party means the ticket will be solid, and that candidate, eventually, he's going to get the 270. So we are talking about internal competition. And this internal competition will go at the macro level as well. Now, what is the most important procedure of this? Is it the first one to create the nomination and to create the platform and to create the unity of the party? These are important, but the biggest one and the most influential one, ladies and gentlemen, is the political mobilization, where they could bring a speaker, influential one, and could create impacts on those people. And since now we have technology and we have globalization and social media and internet, wow, that's national convention. It's a global one. It's a global one. It's no longer in Chicagoland. It's around the globe. It wasn't even in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's around the world. And look, I studied the Republican National Convention this year. I studied carefully. They did see the Republican brought some family members for Trump to speak. His granddaughter came up to speak, and she did good speech, and she showed her grandfather is a man of family. Then they brought the vice president, or the future vice president nominee, J.D. Vance, and he was giving a good example that Trump survived the assassination, and he called for national unity, where some people were saying all the other crap about him. So that means he's committed. Then they broke my favorite guy in wrestling. Hulk Hogan. What he said, well, you are American. It's true to be American, so you are a Trump, so you need to vote. And he cut off or teared off his T-shirt before the whole world, if they can matter, show how much loyalty and support for him. Then the interesting part, when we got the president of UFC, Dan White, when he said, I was called by my friend Donald Trump, and he asked me if I could speak on at the National Convention. And he also apologized to me because I was involved with family matters or family trip or family arrangement. And that's the man you need because he considers the family values and the life for us. And even he made a powerful statement. He said, I am not puppet to any tools, and I'm telling you what I'm saying for myself. This is political mobilization. That's where you motivate voters and others who do not understand that much of politics, and they will rally behind him. Then finally, when this step is done by the end of the convention, now they're going to present that candidates to the nation, and from here the media will start to talk. This will take us to understand how the media works with these things. Now, this is very important to understand. Media is very powerful in the United States of America. And it's very powerful in all advanced democracies elsewhere in the world. But they are not that strong by Putin's or in China or North Korea or anywhere in the Middle East as well. What is the first one? The news coverage. That's where the media utilize the technology. So they could present all those candidates through traditional resources such as TV and radios, and also through internet. And now we have the social media platform. So we don't read that much. We just open the news and we observe what's going on. God knows what else. But the media had the expert to present all these things for us. And that will take them to the second step. We call it agenda setting. What do you mean with agenda setting? The media, doesn't matter where is it, NBC, CBS, ABC, or wherever you are, or CNN, they will set that's which topic will it brought better public attention. When George Bush Sr. said back in 1988, read my lips, no more tax. They kept playing and recycling and revolving with that word till it attracts more people. And so many stories if we're going to keep talking about these things. Now we take the third one, watchdog functions, and this is kind of scary a little bit because they start to present their thoughts about what this candidate just said. And they might even judge it. And they might even tell you, for example, take what's happened back in 2004. John Kerry used to say, I'm a regular guy. That's fine. But it's mean you live from one shack to shack. It's mean you struggle. It's mean you are a man from the middle class. There's nothing wrong with this. But they start to talk about someone, her name Teresa Heinz. She wasn't a bad lady. She's an excellent woman. I give her a good grade. But who was Teresa Heinz? A wealthy lady. So you are not a regular guy. You are married to a wealthy woman. And I do recall, in back 2004, someone told me, why should I vote for someone who just lie? I stick with the one who's been lying. I think with the one who's been lying. I remember that time. So this is what's very interesting about this kind of scene, how the media present that things. And I don't know if you remember Gary Hart back in 1988, when he used to say all the time gods, all the time social values, and suddenly the media thought him having good time at Miami Beach with someone as old as his granddaughter. So where was God in that time? Maybe that's what we have here. Now, you take the last one is the platform, or the one before is the platform for the candidate. And that's where are the surrounding issues to the nation, where they bring experts and they start to talk. Like you want to talk about immigration, he's going to explain his immigration plan. About healthcare, he's going to explain his healthcare plan. And we are in this society from different industries. We need to understand, and we look at that reflection, and from there will be influenced to vote. So that's what we call it, hard news. Now, finally, is the public opinion. I don't recall the name of that political science professor, but I do recall when he said public opinion is the sharpest part for every election, because that's what we know. That's what we know, and that's what we hear from here. So moving on with that one. So we have voters, and ask the question, why vote? Should I vote for this guy or that guy? As I said, several studies came up, and one of them, the most interesting one, was from University of Michigan, as I recall. And some people, they vote Democrat because they are Democrat, or they are Republican, or a Green Party, or they don't trust this guy, they're gonna go to the other guy. It's just party loyalty. That's one explanation. The other one, maybe the personality for that candidate, and how much he is very influential, has great charismatic features and skills to talk before public, like JFK, like President Barack Obama, like Eisenhower, like FDR, all those guys. So other things could be ignored, and they will rally behind that candidate from that perspective. But there is another ball for explanation. I call it prospective voting and retrospective voting. In 2016, Bill Clinton tried to use it to his wife. And what does it mean here? In prospective voting, candidate will explain the future plan for their issues. And they will tell you, this is what I offer for America, this is what I offer for middle class, this is what I offer for the senior citizen, and they go from here. That's called prospective voting. Most of those people who vote with this one, it's the young voters. Like, I'm concerned about education, and Biden has for me a good deal about student loan, I'm gonna go with that. Now, the other one called prospective voting, George W. Bush used it against John Kerry during the first and second presidential debates, as I recall. In that retrospective voting, what did you do before? What you have done for us before, in terms what you have said. What if you were a new candidate for the presidency, but maybe you were governor, maybe you were senator, maybe you were somewhere else in different industry. Okay, and that could influence the old generation. When I say the old generation, not the old men and women in the 80s, it means those who voted 3-4 times already in that things. So these are the perspectives that motivate the voters to go from here. Now, as I said earlier today, I'm going to go review over the national conventions that took place for the last 60 years. And you got back in 1964, we have, as usual, two-party system. You have Lyndon Johnson led the Democratic Party, and you have also Goldwater, who was nominated by the Republican Party. Now, in this area, These are the topics or the key issues were included inside the platforms. And if you take a closer look to them, you find out, okay, LBJ offered a better perspective for this package, and therefore he won the election. That's one of the things. So we are not going to go balance out each issue or what is the platform exactly. Like when I was looking at the Republican platform, here currently it's 16 pages. It's saying so many things, but I start to search what are the solutions? Where are they? How can we understand these things? Moving on for 1968. You got in 1968 that we experienced the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. You had Humphrey, and you got Nixon. Look at the platform's key issue. It seems the Republicans were able to influence voters' behavior and support Nixon. Nixon made a great statement by calling for law and order because what the assassination that took for Martin Luther and the riot elsewhere in the nation. And he promised the nation to end up the war in Vietnam and to bring his American troops back home. Did he do something like this? Not really for all political scientists. Now, moving on for 1972. So in 1972, we got McGovern, okay, led the Democrat, and he offered a good deal to end up the war in Vietnam and to bring better equality in the economy and to ensure more social justice. But Nixon successfully was renominated one more time and secured himself on the ticket, and he offered economic prosperity, national security. 2 years later, he resigned. And as you know, that things. Now, look one more time for 1976. You have Jimmy Carter, and Jimmy Carter, still alive, he's about 100 years. By the way, his grandson is going to make a speech. He's going to speak at the Democratic National Convention. And Carter was fully supported with lots of people from different segments in the society. And he discussed a better way to deal with the economy and the energy crisis. And he focused on foreign policy because we were going to the end of the Cold War in that time and called for national unity. Now, the Republicans were already in a scandal. And the media, Bob Woodward, presented Nixon how he was like dishonest in that time. And therefore, now Ford couldn't make it and he was out. So he was out with that things. Now, look for 1980. We have different structure in that time. Reagan came up. Reagan has led the Republican Party and called for George Bush Sr. to be his vice president. And as you know, Reagan was an excellent communicator. He knows how he talks. The best thing I hear from him back in 1984, I was a little kid, but I was very good, sharp in that things when he said, I never thought because of my age, I should stop public service. No. And that's influenced and inspired his supporters and others who went to vote for the first time. So back in 1980s, Carter lost the package that he provided and the prospective voting that he tried to offer, or the prospective approach he tried to push it to the nation, was defeated by the retrospective approach that he experienced, or he made it for himself. So Reagan became the president of the United States and kept going after that for 1984. And he was secured for the second time and won the election. So he called that election campaign, it's Morning in America, mean more hopes. Remember what FDR said, I pledge myself, I pledge you, and new things come to America. Reagan maybe was inspired by that speech, and he added, it's morning in America. Now, sadly, you would say, Mandela did not make it. But was very interesting. Yes, ma'am. Okay, Ferraro. Okay, her name, Geraldine Ferraro, died back in 2011. Unfortunately, she was the first woman to be a potential vice president before Sarah Palin. Okay, and that's the thing. Now, you go to 1988. You got Michael Dukakis at that time. Tried to lead the Democrat, but the Republican, with George Bush, the vice president, and Danny Qualley, the new vice president, he won. And he offered for him peace, prosperity, and progress. It was about to end the Cold War, and everything was changing in the nation as well. Now, you got, in 1992, we had different story. We got Bill Clinton. came up with more ideas about the economic, healthcare, and more changes in the nation in number of areas as well. And there'll be, time for change. Then he beats in that time George Bush Sr. and Dan Qualley. So you go, in 1996 was very interesting. We had Bob Dole in that time run on behalf of the Republican, and he was secure, and he was nominated to be the future runners to the Republican Party. Clinton and Gore were able successfully to secure their tickets, and Clinton won the election for the second term. Now, some people ask me why he could run for the second term. I cannot do it in the third term. Because we have the 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution. It's mean two-limit term. You don't go beyond anything like this. And two-limit term came up as a result of FDR became winning, and one Republican senator said in that time, we don't want to have a king for the Republic. We don't want to have the king for the Republic. Okay. Now, moving on for year 2000, and that was very interesting election. And we had Al Gore and Joe Lieberman. And as you see, in American democracy, what's determined the American presidency is the Electoral College, not the public vote. And some people said, why should I vote if the Electoral College? Well, that's another explanation, takes further direction of keep talking about the elections in the US. But look, the 2000 election came up with good package for perspective, such as education reforms and the tax cut and the national security to the nation. And we moved to 2004. Again, George Bush won, although what George Bush did, the war on terror, did a great job to protect the nation for national security. And in the same time, he pushed for economic growth, but I doubt if the economy was that much in that time. So John Kerry lost the election in 2004 and went home. So Bush stayed for another 4 years till we start to have a new style or a new drama. We got former President Barack Obama. One man asked LBJ, do you think one day America will have a black president? LBJ said, in the long run. And absolutely, that's the no social change to bring there. So Barack Obama was an excellent president. He got great characteristics. He has excellent skills to dealing with this. And his wife in the National Convention of 2012, when she came to address the National Convention, she made her husband a common man. She did not mention the word President Obama. She said, Barack come from work. Sit with the daughters, make sure they have dinner, they start work on their homework, and he goes back to work. Barack on Sunday meet with his fellow to play basketball. Barack does this, do that. That's a message for the common man in the US, for voters, like this president, although he is in big place called the White House, he is like you. And that's what influenced voters and how the media project that thinks. So 2008, we got the Democrat, President Barack Obama. Then also he ran for 2012 against Mitt Romney, or Mitt Romney ran against him, and he beat him, and he became the president for the second term, till eventually we had the election of 2016, and that's where we had Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and we had, former President Trump in that time. And look at the package for the platform for both. Now, Trump took the issue of immigration and secure the borders for the nation, plus the national security, plus the health care, plus other issues involved with the foreign policy. Same thing in the Democrat. They want to talk about the immigration because Obama promised with the immigration, and this has been a hot topic in every election, and foreign policy and education, that things. Now, in 2020, the whole world shut down because of COVID-19. We did not have much of excitement at the National Convention, although they have a physical place for it, but mostly were virtual. What I want to address, if you go back to 2016, is the political mobilization that President Trump experienced. And there is a little clip. We will watch it in a little bit. Now, moving on for what we have in this time. That's the National Convention for 2024. Now, we are expected, some speakers like President Joe Biden will address the conference or the convention, then the Clintons, Hillary and Bill, then former President Barack Obama, then Jason Carter, the grandson of Carter. And all of them, they will endorse what? Kamala Harris. That's it, because President Biden dropped on July 21st. Now, you move up to the Republican. We just saw their national convention, and we had so many people talk about it, some of them from family members, some of them from celebrities, and all of them were endorsing Trump and make America great based on Trump. So you go to the platform of the Democratic Party. So the campaigns finished the job, and we have so many issues involved with foreign policy. We have war in the Middle East, we have war in Eastern European country, we have China rising. We have so many things on the table, and she's gonna work hard to get the job done. Now, I want you to understand one thing, ladies and gentlemen. American presidency is not a person, is an institution. And that goes back to Alexander Hamilton. He is the one suggested to add up to the United States Constitution the delegated power, the inherent power, the express power. And he's the one who created the position for chief executive officer. So the president to the White House comes and leaves. But the institutions in the nation and the lobbyists around these institutions, plus the elite, they have what we have on the platform, and we're gonna go from there. In 2020, when I was watching the Republican National Convention, former President Trump's daughter came up, she said the following: every president come up to the White House changed him. But my father changed the White House. Honest to goodness, I tried to figure it out, what does it mean? I don't know. What does it mean? Because we study in political science, there are three ways to deal with the staff in the White House and with the institution come to you. One of them called the wheeling model. One of them called the corporate model. One of them called the corporate model, and the other one, I forgot, can't remember my head. Okay, it's kind from Eisenhower. Okay, hierarchical model, and that things. I don't know what does it mean. So he came up from outside Washington, D.C. as a businessman. And when I put the things together, well, too bad. One distinguished scholar used to write about American presidencies. His last name is Barber. He passed away, and I used to learn a lot from him, and hopefully we'll get more. Now, the national conventions for the Democrat is going to take place in our lovely town, city of Chicago. It's going to be in McCormick Place, United Center, here and there and there, and that will be interesting to watch what's going on. Now, here's the timeline for the election of 2016. I spent the great time to study the election of 2016, and if you see this timeline, like explained before, the national conventions for both took place during July. So for the Republican was in Cleveland, Ohio, on July 18, Democrat on the 25th in Philly, Pennsylvania. And now here is a little clip about political mobilization. And that's here, as I played it before. For this gentleman, his name, Ralph Alvarado, he is a senator, or he's former senator at the state of Kentucky, Hispanic background. The speech that he gave it in 2016 was a great speech to influence voters to rally behind President Trump. And in his speech, he tied up the religious ideology of the people into the political ideology of the Trump's association in that time. And on the top of this, he presented the bad laundry for Hillary Clinton and also President Barack Obama. And he spoke in Spanish at the last part of his clip, asking the Latino communities to vote for Trump, and concluded in English by telling Hillary Clinton, you don't deserve our voting because of the bad scandals that she was involved with, that things. That made her to look otherwise. So forgive me for this. I'm gonna watch just only 2 or 3 minutes from this clip.
Now, over the past 8 years, our president and his apprentice, Hillary Clinton, have talked about that American dream, but they have absolutely no idea how to protect it, foster it, or expand it. Today, we have a president who has not only failed to end racial tension, he has made us more divided than ever. Today, we have a president who is itching to restrict our fundamental constitutional rights, such as religious liberty, the right to bear arms, and free speech. Today, we have a president who has rejected honesty and transparency, lying to the American people over and over again, from Obamacare to the promise of immigration reform, to Fast and Furious, to phone record spying, to an IRS enemies list, to green energy crony bankruptcies, to Benghazi, to the VA scandal, to the Iran nuclear deal. The list just goes on and on and on. And with Hillary Clinton, this 8-year nightmare will get far, far worse. Americans face a very important decision. Do we want someone who is brutally honest, perhaps to a fault, or do we want someone who is brutally dishonest? It is not a decision this year about America moving left or about America moving right. It's a decision about America going up or America going down.
Now, that's it. That's what I want you to hear. I'm sure you could find it on YouTube if you are interested with more. Why I had to use this clip, and I use it in the classroom, because I teach something, I call it political socialization, political mobilization, political participation. The clip that you see is the political mobilization of the national conventions for the party when they bring influential speakers who will touch on the heart, on the mind, and even on your visions for the future. And as I said, like one political science professor from United Kingdom said, Americans do not read. Americans watch the news and they go from there. Well, with the new generation we're going to see with AI, I don't think anybody will open the book, unfortunately. So we had that things here for election in 2016. And now you move for 2020. The Republicans did not call for a primary election because President Trump or former President Trump secures the ticket for him. But the Democrats, they did. And we have all those candidates who tried to run in the primary election, and eventually Biden got him, including Bernie Sanders couldn't make it as well. Then, as I said, it wasn't much of excitement because we had COVID-19. Overall, President Biden became the president of the United States of America in that time, and Trump did not like what's happened in this time. Now, this is what we have for election 2024. In the beginning of the primary election, President Biden had a great interest to run for the White House one more time. We had this young lady, Marianne Williamson, try to challenge him. She dropped in the race. She went back. Then eventually she get out of business back on June 11, 2024. And I was told the Democratic National Convention Party did not call her to speak in that time. Now look at the Republican. We have about 12 candidates. It tried to run, and Trump was able to do it. Now, if you do recall back in summer 2016, it was very hot, and I was finishing teaching in the night, and I was listening to the news. Then in the news, they mentioned that the GOP leaders, Grand Old Party, the Republican, called Trump and to stop attacking Ted Cruz back in 2016. And Ted Cruz, when he came up to address the national conventions for the Republican in 2016, he did not endorse Trump. This is telling you, inside the political party, we have the elite. And these guys are the very powerful people who really could put the guideline and to show the support for that candidate and to keep with them. Now, why they do that? That's another research. And that's another journey of studying. Now, moving on for what we have in 2024. This is good. Officially, on July 15 to 18, former President Trump has been nominated for the ticket to run to the White House, and he selected his vice president, J.D. Vance, in that time. And he made a speech in that time convention, and I remember he was talking about the national unity that Trump has been using it. And even when the assassin tried to kill Trump and he couldn't make it, Trump called for national unity. People were listening and were all the time excited. Now, July 21st, after we had the first presidential debate between Trump and Biden, I figured out there are something wrong here. And actually he dropped on the 21st. He was pushed, he was asked. And I remember the media said something, well, he don't want to work in the night. And he needs more time to sleep. That doesn't work if you are at the job. That doesn't work, yeah or here. Because what I look at it, it's when FDR said, I pledge myself, I pledge you, I bring a new deal to America, it's mean you are the servant of the nation. And you get paid by me because I pay tax. You are not the king of the nation, you are the servant of the nation. So whatever is your political party. Now, we are expecting the first presidential debate. I'm not sure it's going to be on the 10th or the 16th, so I put the 2 dates. I will follow up later on. And they're going to have October 1st and October 9th. Then on November 5th, the president-elect. And here is what the media is saying. That's the media expectation about the future voting in the United States. So you have solid red is going to go for Republican. Solid blue is going to go for Democrat. We are in Chicago and in Illinois, historically we go blue. We go blue. But there is some concern for the Chicagoan and the people of Illinois. The Electoral College for the state of Illinois now 19. As you know, every 10 years, the United States government does the census for the population. So some states might lose seats, and some states might gain more seats in the House. The Senate is going to be equal, because the Electoral College has to be an equal number to United States Congress plus Washington, D.C., 538 to 270. So look, we have some swing states. It look like it, based on media analysis, is going to go to Trump, like Florida. And also you have Ohio somehow, okay? Those are the big 2 swing states. Now, why the media is doing this? Why is doing this? You could find so many answers. Some of the answer is money. Some of the answer, hey, our job. I said, well, that's the only way to educate all of the public is to tell them what's going on. It's another platform to influence public. So you would tell me the media is going to be the driving force for the president-elect in the nation? Well, based on what I've been seeing, actually, the media has the good tools to influence whatever is going to come up. As I said, the 60 years of National Convention, I finished them from 6 minutes, and I did. Thank you for coming. Happy to have all your questions.
I'm stuck, but if anyone has questions, oh, I got it. So if anyone is online and you have some questions for our presenter, please feel free to throw those in the Q&A. Again, anyone in person, if you got a question, you can throw your hand high in the air, and I will come. I see some questions. I'm gonna come running this way. Start right here.
Okay, so based on how the conventions are set up, is it possible would it have been possible for Biden to drop out after the nomination? Or I know there's pressure for J.D. Vance to now, after they've been nominated, is there any platform or recourse for nominees to drop out and be replaced?
Here is what I've been observing. When I was watching the Republican National Convention, the media start to say, okay, we just received information that's the Democrat about to close out their deals. It's mean we could hear a statement upcoming soon. And actually, the Democrat had to do whatever they had to do after we saw the debate to ask Biden to leave the job or to drop off the race. So before the National Convention been created or been set up, they have the kitchen ready for it. And that's what I said. The platform is the most very important. You have all those issues, and I will share with you another knowledge I learned is sometimes inside the platform, it's not only the issues, but also who will be next to you in the office and who will be or should be selected to any post in the cabinet. So, short answer, everything needs to be done ahead of time. But what you are assuming, what if Biden dropped after the National Convention? Hey, could happen, anything in this world, could happen in this world. But I don't think after he's been nominated, he's gonna drop off. No, so they had to get the job done early.
Thank you. This won't take effect this year, but I wondered if you had any prognostications for the future of the Electoral College. There are organizations, including the League of Women Voters, who are calling for the Electoral College to be abolished so we can have more direct democracy. And in local elections, there are people calling for other methods of voting, like ranked choice voting. And I just wondered what your thoughts are on the Electoral College puts another layer of campaign pressure, it seems like, on candidates.
Thank you very much. That's all the time I ask my student when I teach online, should we abolish the Electoral College? And I have mixed answer. Some said yes, some said no, some they give me good answer. One interesting answer came up to me, not in English, in one of those Eastern European languages. And I don't speak that languages. I don't speak that languages because we have students from all over. But academically, I would go with mixed methods. The polarity system and the majority. What is the polarity system? You will let more than one or two to run, but you take the highest two to the second round, which you do that in France, okay, in the majority system, the 51%. That's what I believe. There is a professor, his name Larry Diamond, well-distinguished scholar, teach at University of Virginia, created somehow a project to improve the electoral system in the US. One of them is the primary election to be regional primary. The second one, no more electoral college. And the other one limit term for the president, 6 years. Did anybody travel with his proposal that much? Not really. Other professors from different universities suggested a mixed methods system. So some people ask me why we have the electoral college. That goes back a long time ago when the founding fathers were arguing who is going to be in the government. Is it going to be the public or the elite? Who is the public? Is the popular vote. Who is the elite? That was it, is the electoral college. So as I said, I love to have mixed methods. And I'm not expecting everybody will welcome such a proposal from me. They wouldn't listen to me, trust me. I don't have the political clout.
Any other questions from any? I see a hand. Come on running.
Regardless of the candidates involved, this is the first time we're kind of seeing a short presidential campaign by nature of the Biden dropout. Do you think that that provides some strategic momentum? I mean, Europe certainly has shorter campaign seasons. Do you think there's strategy involved in having a shorter campaign season for?
Very good question.
candidate?
It was in my mind for a while, if I ask her. Now, why he did not drop off from the first place? Why he did not present it to all his supporters? It's good enough for me what I have done. I had time to leave that position for a new blood to be in there. So it seems he dropped after he was pushed. And they figured it out, if he's not going to drop, and after he presented himself at the last presidential debate, the Republican might get the office. Let me remind you what I just said. It's about competition. It's about competition, and the 270 electorates will determine who will be the president to the nation on November 5th. And I think Biden, he needs to answer that question ahead of time. And maybe nobody brought that issue to big guys in the Democratic Party. That's the only answer. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, 1 second, just so people online can hear. You're fine, you're fine.
I have another electoral college question. So the vice president certifies the electoral college votes in Congress. So that will be Kamala Harris certifying her own election. Is there a conflict of interest there? Has that ever happened before?
No, we have a unique. Look, this is excellent observation. Look what's going to happen there. As I put that on my PowerPoint. Okay. On second Wednesday, let me get exactly the date. So I've been having too many dates over here. So look, December 17, the state electorates, okay, will cast their vote in their state assembly. They will seal it off and they will ship it to Washington, D.C. Since Kamala Harris is the vice president, she is the head of the Senate. But who is the Speaker of the House? Mike Johnson. So she's going to be there, and Mike Johnson is going to open the vote and is going to read, congratulations, now we have ex-president of the United States. So she is the vice president until January 20. Then she is the head of the Senate until January 20. That's a unique situation. Yes. That's a unique situation. But the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He is the one who's going to read before Congress.
Oh, 1 second.
So is there a equivalent mobilization for third party? Is there a GNC or otherwise, or is it just DNC, RNC, and everybody? What do third parties do?
Nothing.
Okay.
Okay. Look, we are a democracy, and democracy means everybody. But the system in the United States has been structured as a two-party system. We don't have parliamentary system to have a multi-party system like they do in Germany, elsewhere in the world. So the third party in America, they are not going to be strong enough to compete with the Democrat and the Republican. But hey, you could run on behalf of third party. You got Ross Perot before. You got Ron Paul before. You got what's his name? This guy. Forgot his name. That's for the Green Party. Okay, before all those guys, they could have, but they are not gonna be able to make it. His name is it's not coming into my head, but I remember he was very active back in the 60s for safety belts when the cars. Ralph Nader, thank you so much. Ralph Nader, okay, when he said, we will never make it to the United States Congress because, that's a powerful thing. Territoriums of winning. In election, they have proportional system. In election, they have the polarity system, first past the post. In election, we have the majority system for the electoral college. So the whole structure doesn't allow the third party to make it to the White House. That's the whole structure.
I want to be respectful of your time and, of course, our guest time, and I know we're coming up on time, so I want to ask one final question to you. As a librarian, this is an important question. I'm going to do a quick pitch here before I ask it. The Schomburg Library is about to, I forgot to mention this at the start, launch a page on their website to help our voters, our patron voters, find all the information they would need about how to vote, how to get registered to vote, and all kinds of information to prepare themselves. But since we've been talking about these two platforms that are supposed to be informative of voters, where would you, as a scholar and professor, recommend our patrons look for more information about the candidates that we have upcoming, as well as specifically if they want to learn more about political conventions and how they work and their history. What resources, books, I'm going to say books again because this is a library, would you recommend? And then I'm going to pass things over to one of the League of Women Voters co-presidents, Cami, to close us out.
Okay, well, Schaumburg Library is an excellent library and has a good resources to educate the voters.
Good
but
answer.
voters also, they have to run the extra mile. The extra mile is mean keep watching, keep reading, keep asking, keep engaging. And that's a good way. Now, there are so many articles. Like today, I ran into one article at US News and they ranks the worst 10 presidents in the United States of America. They put the fairest one, Pat Buchanan in that time. Then they put the second one, Andrew Johnson. Then they put the third one. Who is the third one? Donald Trump. Absolutely. And they kept going all that things. That's from US News. That's not, I did not make this rank, but they made. So run the extra mile, keep reading, keep watching, analyzing, and set up your preferences. What do you expect from this candidate? Where should fit with your policy? And how could you educate your community about what's going on, and therefore you could make a wise decision? Vote as an American. Vote as a person care about the republic. Vote as a citizen who wants to improve the system. Vote to practice your right in democracy and in the Constitution. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Can you all hear me? All right, good evening. I'm Cami Bassick, and I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters of the Palatine, Barrington, and Schaumburg areas. Our service area also includes Inverness, Hoffman Estates, and Rolling Meadows. My co-president is Gail Banakis, but I'm sure she is watching us from home tonight. Along with our talented leadership team and members, we work each day to empower voters and defend democracy. Thank you to all who joined us tonight, both virtually and in person. A special thanks to our esteemed speaker, Professor Sally, for educating us on the historical significance of the national conventions. To quote you, you touched our hearts, minds, and views for the future. I love your energy, your humor, and especially your slides. They were, wow, I couldn't believe how good they were. Thanks also to Chris and the Schaumburg Library for allowing us to join you in sponsoring the Civic Awareness Series. If you've missed any of the series, you can find a recording on the League website. In the past, they've done ranked choice voting, diversity, equity, and inclusion, mental health, and women in politics. Future events include book banning, women's reproductive health, and gun violence prevention. Very important topics, I'm sure, to all of us. In addition, our league has upcoming candidate forums for members of the House Districts 51 and 52 and the 8th Congressional District. This is one of the most important services that the League of Women Voters has provided over time. This is your opportunity to hear from the candidates that are running for an office, hear about the issues that they support that affect your daily life. You'll be so much better prepared when you go into the election booth or fill in your mail-in ballot. If you're unable to attend the candidate forums, these forums are also posted on our website. Our voter services people can be found visiting our local high schools and colleges, registering students, going to area nursing homes, and you might have even seen them on the platforms at the train stations. They were approaching all the young people going to Lollapalooza this year. So finally, we're hosting an event on September 5th for our members and their guests about the proliferation of mis- and disinformation, what we call preventing truth decay. We also have planned games, music, and treats for a fun and educational evening. You'll find more information about all of these events and others that we are sponsoring, and also some that the League of Women Voters of Illinois are sponsoring as well. If you have an interest in becoming a member of the League of Women Voters, we would love to have you. You can contact us on our website. We have a place called About Us, and contact emails for all of our board and directors. Again, I want to thank everyone for supporting both the League and the library with your attendance.